Well, the winds continue to pick up and they will continue to increase as we go through the rest of the afternoon. Then those winds turn more towards that south and southwesterly direction. That is what's going to really kind of push in that peak surge. But already you look along Bayshore Boulevard right now and just absolutely amazing. And we've got that south and southeasterly wind right now. And we're seeing those waves right along the coastline pushing right along Bayshore Boulevard. There you see it southeast at 24 miles an hour. Every once in a while you see the waves crashing over the seawall there. And I would expect as we go through the next 3, 4, 5 hours, we're going to see most of this underwater as we continue to see this all rising through here. If you've lived here any period of time, you have seen the dramatic changes that we can see across the bay here with all the water being pushed out of the bay, all the water being pushed in the bay, and the dramatic flooding that we can see in these areas as well. So there are the winds across the area and already right along the coastline. Clearwater, 45-mile-an-hour wind gusts. St. Petersburg, 45 as well. Down in the Sarasota, winds are gusting currently to 46 miles an hour. So the coastal areas, they are seeing those winds gusting right now over tropical storm force. And even as you move over towards Lakeland, winds are sustained at 22, currently gusting to 31 miles an hour. We will continue to see these winds just steadily increasing. And as some of these bands move through over the next several hours, that's where you're going to really start to see those winds kind of ramping up. So here's the enhanced satellite loop, just a big storm. That's been the story that we have talked about for some time now, just the large size of this storm. And we're continuing to watch that eye, just getting better define the very deep convection right near the center of this as well. You see it right now on that north and northwesterly side where you're seeing some of the deepest convection. That's those bright magenta colors showing the coldest cloud tops, which is indicative of the strongest portions of this storm. Visible satellite loop, really interesting to look at this. Again, every one of these storms has their differences. Some of these have that just absolutely classic looking eye cleared out. This has been somewhat of a ragged eye. And a big part of this has been, this is somewhat of a lopsided storm. So you're seeing a lot of that deep convection just kind of wrapping around, causing this storm to wobble and have somewhat of a ragged appearance to that eye. So right now, winds are at 105 miles an hour, currently sitting right around 255 miles to the southwest of us here in Tampa, moving to the north-northeast at 14 miles an hour. Still, it has time. It's moving over warm water. It's moving through an environment of that low wind shear. And so we're going to continue, unfortunately, to see this storm continue to increase in intensity. It does look like it'll be making landfall as a major hurricane, a Category 3 up into the Big Bend, but we are dragging all this weather over us. We're already starting to see the effects of this, and this will continue to worsen as we go through the rest of the afternoon and into this evening. Look at that. It's just amazing how quickly this will be moving, because by tomorrow morning, it's up in Atlanta as a tropical storm still. You live up in Atlanta, you're not expecting to get hit by a tropical storm, but that looks like what will be happening as we head into tomorrow morning. Wave heights across the Gulf of Mexico, you see that the pink, the magenta colors, that's over 25-foot wave heights right now, and some of the buoys close to this seeing 45 mile an hour gusting to 58 right now, and even just off the coast of Manatee County, we're seeing that one buoy currently gusting to about 56 miles an hour, and these will just continue to increase. And then as we have this storm nearing us, you're seeing a lot of this very strong wave action and these high seas just continuing. Think of it almost like a large mound of water, large mass that will be working its way closer to us as we go through the afternoon and this evening. That's why we're still looking at this storm surge. In fact, Hurricane Center came back yesterday and upped those numbers, which is never a good thing to be talking about, increasing numbers like this. So up into the Big Bend, 15 to 20 feet, 10 to 15 feet, even down in the Citrus County. Throughout Tampa Bay, we're still looking at 5 to 8 feet of that storm surge. Tides, It does look like as we head into the evening, we have yet another high tide up towards Cedar Key right around 11:35. And again, that will be that time where we're seeing those winds turning towards that southwesterly direction. Clearwater, we have a high tide at 11:12 this evening. So that's a bit of an issue as well as we go through the late night hours. Here's the Fox model showing more of these bands just kind of working their way through. The Fox model has been doing a fabulous job with this over the past several days, showing that move from the Caribbean through the Yucatan Channel, then heading right up into the Big Bend area, making landfall as we head into this evening. But you continue to see, as we head into this evening, we are seeing the bands starting to settle down. But with that wind coming from that southwesterly direction, you can see how it is just pushing that water right up into the bay. And that is why we are talking so much about that storm surge as we head into the evening hours. By tomorrow, we'll start to see that settling down, but it's going to be a big portion of late tonight and through the overnight hours that we are dealing with that very dangerous situation with that storm surge along the coastline. Now, the rain continues to pick up. We're seeing more of these rain bands heading our way. Valerie standing by to show some of this activity that is now starting to work its way on shore. Valerie?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. We're going to jump right into Sky Tower radar, where we're continuing to watch for some of these far outer fringes of some of these rain bands to start to move through, especially our southern counties. We've had a real dry slot here over the last couple of hours. Some of those rain bands moved through earlier this morning, but we focus right in on the coastal areas in Sarasota, Manatee counties. That's where we're starting to see some of that rain move through, and some decently heavy rain as well. You can see some of those brighter colors kind of mixed in just around our coastal spots there, Gulf Gate Estates up through Bayshore Gardens. So starting to see more of this lift into the area, and especially as the storm gets closer and closer to our coast, that'll be by this afternoon. That's when we start to talk about more of those steady and more persistent rain bands. And of course, the heavier winds will really start to ramp up as well. But we really look from Bay areas up to northern spots up into the Nature Coast. Not a whole lot right now on Sky Tower radar. So all of this still continuing to favor areas a little bit more to our south, closer to where the storm is right now. So it's really off the southwest coast, still about 200 miles off the coast there. But just look at how large this storm is. That is going to be one of the main things we'll remember from Helene, just the sheer size of it. We're talking about rain bands moving into some of our states just to the north of us. We've already had a couple of tornado warned storms up into the Panhandle near Tallahassee area. So more of that will come as this continues to get closer, because you can see there, that's where we're talking about the center of circulation with Helene right now. And look at the strong winds. It's continuing to gust up to 55 miles per hour in Key West. That's where some of the strongest winds have been so far this morning. But we're starting to see more of those tropical storm force winds and continuing to watch for the potential for those gusts here around our Bay Area spots. So as we look at the Fox model and how we're overall expecting the wind to play out here over the next couple of hours, focus in on this yellow color here. That's where we're talking wind gusts up into that 60, 75 mile per hour range. As this continues to lift north and northeast over the next few hours, it's really into the afternoon, evening hour time frame where we're going to be in that slot where we talk about the potential for those stronger winds as this passes just to the north of us. It looks like it still stays about 100, maybe 150 miles off our coast. But as we saw with Debbie, that is close enough to cause problems. And this is a stronger storm, and this is a bigger storm. So not only is the wind going to be an issue for us, but we've been talking about that onshore flow. And especially tonight, that's when we really see those strong winds on the south side of this storm moving in for us. And we're going to continue to talk about that threat for a very dangerous storm surge into the early Friday morning hours. Storm surge going to be one of our biggest threats, but we also have to talk about the potential for some spin-up tornadoes. We talk about the front right quadrant. That is typically where we most commonly get these spin-ups. And so that is the reason that pretty much a large chunk of the state really is under a tornado watch. That extends for our Bay Area spots until 8 o'clock tonight. So especially 3, 4 o'clock, that time frame and beyond, that looks like the window where the more impressive rain bands will start to set up shop here for our area. So that's when we're going to start to watch for the potential for some of those feeder bands to spin up a couple of isolated tornadoes. We'll continue to watch that. Of course, we're going to be on air through tonight, so if any of those do occur, we'll be sure to be with you through that. We're taking another look here at where Helene is now, the past track that it's been on. So you can see we're starting to see that curve off to that due northeast location now. It's still moving about 14 miles per hour, north-northeast, sustained winds still at 105 miles per hour. So with that center of circulation just slightly more to the east than where our past tracks were. That's why we saw that slight nudge in our 11 o'clock advisory, taking that track slightly more to the east. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that as well. Haven't been talking about any big changes to the track. Things have pretty much been in line, but I want to give you a closer look at where that landfall is most likely. We're talking 8 to 10 o'clock. That's more of the window. So it's going to be later tonight where that likely moves on shore. Forecast still calls for a major hurricane in Florida's Big Bend. We're going to toss it off to a short break here, but we'll be back on the other side with all of your local forecasts to come.